Well, welcome back to Hillbilly Shipwright. Now this is where we've been building our 3-ship kit here from Model Shipways. And yeah, become the shipwright of old. This is the 3-boat kit. Now you can buy each one of these individually. I've mentioned that before. And this kit came with these tools here. Which we have found that as we build these boats that there are other tools that we need in order to accomplish it. And that's going to be true on our third build, which is the Lobster smack. So that's the one that we're going to do next. So you've already seen the kit review, I hope. If you haven't, just check it out on the channel there. So this is the Muscongus Bay Lobster smack. And it is in 1/24 scale. And we've already did that kit review, so check that out so you see what all is in the kit, what it comes with. And you can, I think you can buy this with the building kit or the paint separately. You can add that to your cart if you are purchasing this outside of the 3 kit that they've put together for us. And we've been learning all these little trade secrets and methods of building boats. So we're going to learn a lot on this one too, I am sure. So let's jump over to the bench here and take a look at where we need to begin on building our lobster smack. So here we are, just in case you want to know, the kit number is MS1472 and by Model Shipways. We have our material list here, and there's also some trailboard appliques, and I think this is the actual applique. And you have the obligatory please read this first, which you should do. It talks about the plans, make allowances, the kit lumber, take your time, you know, a little introduction here to actually encourage you. So where we're going to be picking up this in the book is going to be on step 1, the central spine, part A. And it tells us what sheets we're going to need to be using here, sheets 1, 2, and 3. And I'm not going to read all this to you. I've already read it. But we are going to be going through and building up the spine here. That's the first step. So we're going to follow our instructions there. So to start off with, these are the pieces that we're going to be using from sheets 1, 2, and 3. And then later on we'll be getting one out of another sheet. But before we get started, it's imperative that we have a smooth, flat, clean surface to work on. Got a little dust there. So I'm going to check my surface with this steel rule right here. I want to make sure that my surface is flat all the way across. I don't want my rule to rock on it. Yeah, okay. So I'm satisfied that this is plenty flat enough here for us to do what we're going to be doing. And we have our sheets here. Sheet 1, we're going to need the center spine bow piece here, and the center spine aft, and then the center spine stern piece. So we have to cut that out. We are also going to need, out of sheet 2 here, this big long piece. And it's very thin. That's why we got to have a really flat surface, because we don't want to be gluing this up and it have a bow to it. You know, the keel needs to be straight. And then we're going to need these spacers here, although this is broke. I don't know if that's a problem. I did not notice this before. Okay. We can deal with, we've dealt with broke pieces before. Part 10 is going to be an issue for us. We're going to have to glue that up. We'll get to that. But anyway, we're going to need these spacers here. I don't know if that just dried out and split on its own, but that's disappointing. But we're going to fix it. We'll fix it. So we're going to need these. And I'm going to cut all these out with my knife, wherever my knife is. Now the the takeaway here is that we're not going to be cleaning up the char. They tell us specifically to not clean up the char around the edges. So we're not going to do that. We're going to listen to the instructions. And sometimes the laser cut doesn't go all the way through. If it doesn't, you may need to cut this from the back. But it seems that we are in good shape there. So now, one of the things that I am going to do is I'm going to clean up these connection points here where the little tabs are, where it was in our fret sheet there. I will clean those up. I don't want that getting in the way of whatever we're about to do. So as I take these parts out, I will clean these up. Not really removing the char. I'm just looking to get rid of those tabs. That way everything will go together the way it's supposed to go together. I hope. So I'm going to go ahead and remove the pieces that we've already identified. And clean up all those little tabs on them there. Okay, I've already found a problem. And I haven't even glued anything yet, except for our alignment piece here. I used just regular PVA glue, white glue. Glued that together, and it's drying for me, so I'll set that aside. Here's what I've noticed. My starboard spine side does not look like the one in the picture. So flip back over here, start one to lay down one spine piece on a flat surface. And let's see, it tells us to accommodate a working, I'm going to have to read this, of course. To accommodate a working centerboard, the keel and central spine in this model is made of several pieces. To begin, you will need the starboard spine piece and the 3 center pieces. Carefully remove these from the sheets, making sure that you don't break anything, and do not clean off the char. Okay, so I did that. And it specifically says the starboard spine piece. And here we are, spine, starboard side. So that's the one that I cut out. And I've just got this sitting here, you know, it's just loose, as you can see. Just, whoops, hit the camera, sorry. So I was just lining everything up and double checking myself, and I got to looking, and we've got some laser etched items here, which is facing where the center board goes, and that doesn't make any sense. So I started looking here, and our piece does not look like their piece. See how we've got this cut out? And there's no cutout. If we go on over in the book, you'll see that this piece, when we put the other side on, which would be the port side, it's got that cutout for our rod. So what to do? Get sheet 5. Sheet 5 is our port side spine. And if you look at it, it's closed like the instructions shows it. Closed. See there? See there? Yeah. And that would make sense because you don't need these instructions here on the inside. This is a locator for another part that goes on the outside. Well, on the outside of the spine. So we actually need this piece right here, the port side. So they have mismarked these, and I'm assuming. So I'm going to cut this piece out, and I'm going to put this piece in place of this piece, even though this is the part that they've called out off of sheet 2. You actually need the part off of sheet 5. So I'm going to cut this one out. We're going to go with what the visual shows us in the instructions, because all of these little laser cut stuff here, you know, is going to be, should be on the outside once we get this together, where we can see the numbers and stuff. So I'm going to go ahead and do that. I'm going to cut this out and switch this one and that one. I think that's the right way to go about it. So yeah, let's do that. So with that all ironed out, I am starting with the one that is mismarked. This is actually the starboard side. It was marked on 2. Sheet 2 says starboard side, and it is the port side. It's the wrong one. So this one's also mismarked. So just switch starboard, and maybe they don't know the starboard and port. I don't know. But this is the side that we're starting with. This is the one without the cutout above this angled slot here, as you can see here. So I'm glad I noticed that before I got carried away. So what I'm going to do, line this up. That's what these splines are for right here, to help you align these pieces. Of course, you need to be flush across the top edge where the deck goes. Okay. So what I want to do, there's a couple of areas where we got to pay attention to. We don't need any glue off on the inside here, because this is where the board goes. So that first of all, so I'm just going to pencil in a little line here, so I know not to glue any further than that. And we need to be careful around where these alignment pieces go. We don't want to glue those into the boat. Same thing when it comes to this section here. We don't want to glue these alignment splines here into place. So I'm going to mark this too. That's a bad mark. That way we know where to stay with our glue. And I think I'm just going to do one section at a time so I can just concentrate on getting it right. So probably the best thing for me to do is flip it around, because I need to make sure that when we glue this up, we are gluing this up flush across the top edge there. And I need to be able to see it, so I need that facing me. Like so. So they say use PVA glue. I'm going to use PVA glue. I mean, we still have all this glue, wood glue, left from the other two builds. And we still got about a half a bottle, so that was good. So what I've got the PVA glue, which I'm going to use. I'll cap this so it doesn't dry up on us. And I've got some water. And I've got my brush. So, what do they say? Nothing to do but to do it. So, that's what we're going to do. Glue is not going as far as I thought it would. So this needs to be sturdy. Being a water-based glue, it's going to soak in, so. I don't think PVA glue grabs quite as quick as now you are going to have to weight this down, so have some weights ready, because as you can see, the PVA glue is causing it to bow a little bit, and we don't want anything bowed. Needs to be nice and flat and straight. So we are going to have to weight it down. If we get this wrong, we're in trouble, because this is the first step. So I think I'm going to do this bow section first. The water's to save our brush. Yeah, see, that's bowing up already. So I'm going to set it into place. And we're going to run our splines in. Where's my book so I know where I need to put these splines? There and there. Like so. And I need to make sure that we get this edge here flush. Like so. Or as flush as we can get it. I don't really see me gluing up the second part there right away, because we really need that to dry. If we keep fooling around with it, I need something heavy. It's not heavy enough. I got something heavy here. These are machinist squares. Heavy, heavy, heavy. All right, so I'm gonna let that set and dry. Double check my edge here. This is not not doing well. I don't know that PVA glue is right. I'm just going to let it dry. And then we'll check it and see. We don't want to keep going all the way down the whole spine there and not have it glued up correctly. It has to be nice and solid. So I'm just going to let that dry. I'm going to give it a couple hours, and then we'll come back and see where we're at, I guess. All right, so it was pulling away from itself, and it's not doing what we want it to do. We'll get everything out of the way. I'm going to clean this up. As you can see, it was just pulling away terribly, which is not good. Not good at all. Not what we wanted it to do. Get some water on it here, this side. Now we're going to flip it over, and I'm going to wet it down on this side. Probably need a bigger brush. It's not behaving the way I had envisioned it. So the water is going to cause it to expand more on this side and that side and the other side and all of that. We're going to flatten this bag out. Oops. Not a good look. Not a good look at all. Actually, I probably should just run it under some water and make sure I get it rinsed really good there. And then I'm going to have to sandwich it down with something and lay some weight on it and let this dry back out. Same thing with this one. I need to get that glue off there. So I'm going to go run them in the sink, wash them up, and then I'm going to put something on top of them and let them flatten back out and dry. So I've wet both sides of it there. It's starting to expand back out on this side, and it's starting to curl back. Well, not curl back, but level itself back out. I can't let it dry like that though, because they're slightly curved. So we're going to have to weight them down. However, I'm not so sure that all the adhesive is off of this. All the glue still feels a little gluey. So what I'm going to do, dab off as much as I can. Am I shaking the camera? I'm about to knock the camera off, aren't I? So, all right. If something doesn't feel right, just stop what you're doing and rethink it. That's what I'm going to do here. So I need to weigh these down. And see, now that's almost come back for me. This one not so much. So what I'm going to do is to weight that down. Need to put something on top of it there. I'm going to use some wax paper. I'm not worried about it sticking to my mat. I am worried about gluing it to whatever I set on top of it. It needs to be something flat and heavy. What are we going to use? How about a book? think that will do it. So I'm going to do the same thing with the starboard side here. Yeah. Put wax paper on it in a book. They stack several books on them. I can't weight both these down at the same time because they're two different thicknesses. So we'll do them two separate stacks there. Sorry about the zoom there. Two different stacks there because this piece, the center section, is thicker. So yeah, let me get these weighted down. We're just going to leave them and let them dry. Okay. In all honesty, it's been 2 days since I cleaned everything off, and it was all wet and everything from the cleaning. And yeah. So what we're going to do is we're gonna glue this back up. I didn't do too good of a job getting rid of that connection point there. All right. Anyway, we are mostly flat again. I don't know that it was completely flat when we took it off the fret, but now this little thin piece here, the port side piece, I can't get all of the bow out of it. So that's just going to have to work for us. So we tried to glue it up and it did not work for us. And the problem, I think, is that the PVA glue has too much water in it. And it was really soaking into the thicker piece, the center section of this keel that we're building up here. And it was pulling away so much that it was actually lifting my little machinist square here. And the other thing was we have our alignment splines here. And I was trying to get in around them, you know, to weigh everything down. And it was just peeling up and getting away from us. And had I left it and let it dry, we would have a total disaster on our hands, I'm pretty sure. So we're not going to use the PVA glue at all. Even though the instruction says PVA glue, not doing that. What we're going to use the yellow glue that came with the kit. So we are going to use this and get it down. We use this instead of the PVA. Gonna need me an applicator, such as that. Let me cover that up for a second, because there's something else I want to show you here. These are our alignment splines, and let's see. Yes, I got 4. We only need 2 for the front. I did not true these on my first attempt, but I did on my second attempt, and I'm going to tell you why. If you're just joining us in our boat building series here with this particular boat, then you probably, I haven't discussed it before, that when they cut these with the laser, where the laser enters and then it burns through as they're cutting, there's more heat across the top. So what happens is you end up with a piece that is not square, okay? And since we're going to use these alignment splines to align these 2 pieces, we don't want these pieces being skewed slightly. So if the bottom of it that's against our mat, which is where we're building from the mat up, because we need this to be nice and flat, if it is skewed like that, then it's not going to sit vertical, which may cause our pieces to be slightly misaligned. And so I corrected that. And if you've not seen me do this before, I'll show you. I use something that's has an equal thickness and is flat. And you lay your part on it, and then you can sand using my sanding block here, which is square, to square that edge. Now, I didn't do these top edges here because we don't need them. All right, but what we do need is we need it square here and at least one end square. That way that square end will butt up in the bottom of our slot. And hopefully that's going to keep everything right where we want it to go. That's my idea anyway. Because as I was taking this back apart, I did notice that it wasn't exactly lined up as good as I thought it should have been. And it may not be because it may not be perfect anyway when we get done, because the maybe the pieces are just slightly different. So anyway, that is what we're going to do. And we are going to line this up across the top edge here. As best as we can. And we're going to be using the yellow glue, okay? This doesn't soak into the wood quite as fast. So I'm going to put the yellow glue on the thicker piece of wood. And then I'm going to use these splines to line it up, making sure that our top edge is lined up, and press it down. And then we're going to use a big heavy weight. Now, for big heavy weights, I'm using this. This is a bookend of mine. And we have this nice flat surface here that I can use and it'll cover the entire area. And yeah, there we go. Big, beautiful bookend. Not worried about the glue sticking to this because we can always clean that off. That's not a problem. So you are going to need something flat and something heavy, really heavy, to weigh this down while it dries. So that's our intent, and that's what we're going to attempt here. And for better or worse, hopefully everything comes out flat and straight and all that. So this is going to be our second attempt at this. So I've got it facing me so I can check that top edge there, because you can't see the outlines from the way we're going to be cementing it up. And we got our splines right where I need them to go. So we're going to put our glue on the thick piece. I'm going to do this just a little bit different. And we'll just have to clean up whatever needs to be cleaned up when we're done, because if I coat the whole thing, it's just going to start twisting on us again, and I really don't want it to do that. So this is kind of spread out once we sandwich it down. I do need it down on these edges here where it will grip and hold. It's just that the centerpiece is so thin and basswood is so porous that it just pulls the moisture right out of the glue that we're using, especially if you use that PVA glue. PVA glue was just a bad choice for us. All right. Let me fix my camera. I'm in a bad aspect ratio. And And I do apologize for that. So here we go. It is already starting to cup on me. But we're going to go with it because it's not going to get any better. All right. So I am lined up here on the edge, I think. Now mine may be slightly deformed a little bit. Now these edges are not really lining up the way they should. But that's just the way it's going to have to be. And we are going to weight it down. And cross our fingers, and we're going to leave that to dry. We'll see what happens. Okay, so I let this thing dry for about 6 hours. Take our weight off. And still not lined up exactly correct, but it's going to be all right. Do have a little lip there. I don't know if that's because the I lined it up here and there, and it's not exactly the same profile there through the center of that section, but that'll be all right. We can work with that. And it's straight. That's even better than what we had going on before. Okay, so I'm going to use the yellow glue again, and we'll put this next section in. It's going to go right here, and we'll use our splines to get everything lined up like we're supposed to. Whoops, see, I had that upside down. There we go. Although that spline is not very tight. I did not alter the thicknesses of these splines, so I imagine there's going to be just a little bit of deviation here and there, so that's not that big a deal. All right, so I'm going to do the same thing. I'm going to put the glue on the large piece, or the thick piece, I should say, the thick piece, not the thin outside port section there. I mean, not port, but this starboard section. And I'm just going to put the glue on this, and then put it on, and then quickly put the weight on it. And I'm going to let that set. So I let this dry for about, I think 5.5 hours. Just trying to make sure everything stays flat. And there is a little bit of glue that has come out in some spots, and that's okay. We'll take care of that. So I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to glue this up, and I'm going to go ahead, since we spent so much time fooling with this, it'll be the same thing for the stern section here. Using the little splines there to, at least I think they fit. Let's make sure that they fit. Yes. So they do fit. And just keep it simple. And just get everything glued up and let that dry. Okay, so while that is drying, I'm going to go ahead and take care of the centerboard. And there's also a piece of wire that we got to bend for this. We'll take care of that. Get that ready. One of the things that I'm also going to do is this frame piece here, number 10, ours was split. There was one of the splines was split with it there in the board, the fret that it was in. And if we look at it, you can probably see where the laser etching had stained it there in the corner or on the end there. So it was already split. That's okay, we're going to fix it. I'm just going to force some glue down in there, and we're going to clamp it back together so that it's nice and sturdy. I'm going to have to do both of them. The best thing to do would be to break this on off and then glue it up and put it on. We don't want to leave it weak, because when we go to fair in the frames and everything for our planking, yeah, that's not going to stay. So we gotta fix that. I don't want to fix it the same way that I fixed this. We'll just separate it, put the glue in, put it together, clamp it, and that'll be okay. And then I'm going to prep our centerboard here. The instructions tell us to round over all edges, so that's what I'm going to do. I'm going to go in and round off all the edges there. I did start cleaning up the char there, just to make everything, you know, square there first, and then we'll just go in and round off all these edges and get it sanded down and ready to install. So I'm going to go ahead and do that, clean these parts up, because these are the next ones that we're going to have to use. Well, centerboard we're going to have to use. This comes later on, but we're going to fix it. All right, so this is our centerboard. I've got it all sanded up. It's ready to go. We have 2 holes in it, as you can see right there. Both of which is for 1/16 inch brass rod. One of them is the pivot hole. That's this one here on the bottom. This is the bottom edge, or the keel edge there. And that's where our centerboard comes down and goes up, right? So we're gonna build our smack with the adjustable. We're gonna try to be adjustable centerboard. So you're gonna have to have a handle on it too. So we're gonna make both those right now. So I've measured out the approximate length of the hinge pin. So we need it to actually stick out a little bit on both sides, where that's what they're telling us. And it looks like 4 millimeters will be good on that. So we're going to go ahead and cut the 4 millimeter piece first. So to do that, I'm going to use my vise here. If you've seen my video on vices, so we can hold our brass rod, no problem. And I'm going to need a catcher, because when you cut brass rod, like I'm going to do it with a pair of wire cutters, then it may go flying. So we're going to, hopefully, if I get this to stay up. So this is just a piece of cardboard I'm sticking in a plastic bag here to hold it open for us. Like so, hopefully. I don't know why it's giving me trouble today. Everything's been giving me trouble. There we go. You can see we got the mouth held open there. So I need to measure out our 4 millimeters. I'm going to put me a mark right there. Just knocking things over. I'm going to use the back edge of my knife here to figure out where my 4 millimeters is. Right there. So using the black marker there, we were able to get us a edge there. Need to double check my measurement there. 4 millimeters, okay. So I kind of want this to be flat on both ends. So I'm going to set my wire cutters right there. That'll be our 4 millimeters there. I'm just going to aim it into the bag here. And that just captured it for us. And now we have our hinge pin. This should be sufficient. Yes. So I'm going to use CA glue to affix mine. I think they want us to paint it over, and I didn't do too good with painting last time, so we're not going to do that. We're going to we're going to do it differently. We're going to be doing the got some nice straight cut there. Probably should file that off a little bit. Okay. So to make the rod that we need, it says what? 1 3/4, I think. Yep. 1 3/4. Put my brass catcher over there. Still ended up short. Again, I will mark it. Where we need to cut. So, where'd my cap go? There it is. Set myself up on my mark. Set myself up, yeah. We'll just cut that off. Now we have a 1 3/4 inch piece of brass rod. Doesn't have to be pretty. But we're gonna have to bend a loop in one end and a 90 degree bend at the other. So in the book here, they do give us a diagram. So zoom in. There we go. So we're going to bend us a loop. I think it's the first thing we do. Loop, anneal. Yeah, I think. We do have to anneal it. Don't have to anneal the whole thing, but we're going to have to anneal enough of it to where we can bend it. So we're going to need a torch. So when you go to anneal brass, it's going to get hot. So I'm going to hold it here in my parallel pliers. I'm going to anneal both ends of it. And what we don't want to do is we don't want to set this down on the mat, and we don't want to anneal around anything flammable. so I know it's a lot of rules. And we don't want to burn up our camera. So hopefully there we go. So we got our blue flame going there. You see that blue flame? Yeah. I'll probably set off the smoke alarm. Doesn't do you any good to get too much of your brass down into the flame there. You need to be right at the tip of the blue flame, blue center flame there. So you know you're annealed when it starts to glow red. You don't have to anneal the whole thing. Probably wouldn't be a good idea to do the whole thing. Okay. So I'm going to have to anneal both sides. Okay, so I let it cool off, which is always a good idea. You don't want to be handling this while it's hot. So the next thing to do is to polish it back up because it is not pretty. And we don't want that really dark look from the annealing process there to spoil the look of our boat. Just using my sanding sticks here to do this. So I'm going to polish up both ends of it here before we start bending. Well, actually, we're just going to do this one for now, because I don't want to forget which end is I annealed the furthest, because we need to make a loop on this one. Am I getting out of the frame? Not unusual for me. When I really start working on something, sometimes it gets away from me there. All right. So that's nice. Now, what I did was I've got these jeweler's beading pliers, and I kind of centered up where on the taper on these pliers I want the inside diameter of our little loop there. So we're going to try to make a loop like that. And I say try. I hope these are strong enough to actually bend this. Oops. Not really that good, is it? Those just aren't strong enough. I'm afraid these are going to end up with too big of a loop. We just have to squinch it down, I guess, somehow. If I can get the end of it to actually bend a little more. Awful big. You know, 1/16 wire or rod is actually quite large for what we're trying to do. It's my opinion. But our brass seems to be quite soft. Now I got to figure out how I'm going to get that bent around.
Hopefully my pliers don't slip on me here. Well, it's not gorgeous, is it? Really hard to work with something this large. Well, on our boat, it's going to look like that. You're not going to be able to see a whole lot of it. Just the top portion, I think. So we'll get that polished up really good. Mine does not look like in the book. But I'm afraid to use something smaller in diameter than the 1/16 inch brass rod that comes with the kit, because the slot may be where it comes up through. Maybe will not really kind of hold or guide our control rod here if it's too small. So yeah, so that's going to go up through the deck. And then we'll use a piece of, they recommend a toothpick. I don't know if a toothpick will fit in that. Let me see. Probably shouldn't get it to go. Yeah, that's not going to go. Getting it to spread back out a little bit for us there. Really want a piece of toothpick to go in it. Almost there. Yeah, we can make that work. Because in the long run, we're going to end up with a piece of this bamboo toothpick cut short like that right there, has a handle. So that, I think that's going to work for us. What did I do? I guess I picked the biggest toothpick possible. But that should be fine. So they want it to look like that. As I look at this diagram, first of all, it's not exactly right. I don't guess. Don't really know. They say to measure up a 1/4 inch and bend it, but I'm looking at it. So I measured up a 1/4 inch, and I don't know, maybe I took too much metal to make that loop. I don't think so. Okay. Now bend a 1/4 of the other end, a 1/4 inch of the other end at a right angle. All right. That's what I'm going to do. I marked it at a 1/4 inch. Put it in my pliers here. I need a pusher. Let's see. Something to push with. Not quite. That looks about square. Does it look square to you? Maybe it has just a little twist. Okay, so that's like the photograph, sort of. Sort of. I'm gonna go with that. It doesn't match the diagram and it doesn't match the picture. We will check it. I don't know how we're going to check it. All right. Let me think about that. Okay, so this is the deal. They want us to insert this, and they want us to fold this over into a hook. I don't see how I'm going to do that without crushing the wood. I mean, if this was oak, that would be one thing. Because it's supposed to end up like the hook that you see there. All right. Maybe if I get it started with enough space there and get it hooked in, then I can bring it to without crushing the wood, and then keeping our ability for this to operate. Am I out of frame again? I'm sorry. I can bring it around a little bit more there. You do need to make sure that you've inserted it through the correct side. Otherwise, things will get ugly because this has to go to port. Well, I guess we got it in there. The other problem is there's not enough room there. I'm gonna leave mine opened a little bit, I think. I think that's the right plan. Oof. There's not enough room there. See how it doesn't really fit? I mean, it just doesn't really fit. I gotta be honest with you. I think they put the pivot hole in the wrong spot. That's what it looks like to me. Let's see. Oh, too much. There we go. See that pivot hole? This distance here is wrong. That distance is wrong. Even with it down, you can see that the hole doesn't line up. The hole's too far forward in our board, and the hole up here is too far back. Got to think about this. All right, if you can tell from the amount of tools I've got laying around here, we do have a problem, of course. Wouldn't have it any other way. Let me get that port side out of the way. Okay. So I'm going to show you what's okay. I got my compass here. I'm going to stick the pencil in the compass hole, in that hole down there where our centerboard is supposed to pivot. What we're checking is we're checking the arc on the slot here. And that's okay. See that? That is all right. So I was thinking that maybe I could enlarge that hole and just let it float around the pin, you know, to get it to work. But the problem is, number one, we don't have enough lift because centerboard doesn't come flat. It should be flat. It should be like this. And it never gets there. And I've been filing on it, and I've almost got it there, but I've got a great big hole there now. Excuse me. Got a great big hole there now, and it's still not right. So, first thing we're going to do, I'm just going to line the centerboard up with the keel, like that. And then I'm going to mark where I need to go You can see what I'm doing. Yeah, I gotta bring that hole up there. Otherwise this is not gonna work at all. And I did cut off the extra that I had sticking up there on the rod. Still not enough to make it work. So you can kind of see where we have to go here. I'm just going to pencil it in. So I'm going to take that out. Just going to take that little, it's not going to matter anyway. You can't see it. But I'm going to take that out. I'm going to do that. And also, I'm going to take our centerboard here. And this is a piece of wood that came out of the fret that had it there, right off the corner. Oops, sorry. I'm going to make me a plug. So I'm going to cut and sand that plug out. And I'm going to glue that into the centerboard. And we're going to re-drill that hole, because this is just not going to work. And I would like for it to work. So I'm going to do this first. I'm going to cut this out. I'm going to glue it in, get a nice fit, glue it in, let it dry. While it's drying, I'm going to go ahead and cut our slot out so we have the travel, because we just don't have the travel that we're supposed to have. I'm assuming. Yeah, it's just not going to go high enough. That's the problem. It will not go high enough. No matter how I tried with my hole there, and I never could get the board to line up correctly. And I don't know, maybe it's never supposed to line up correctly, but I would think that you're supposed to be able to retract it to the keel. Anyway, that's what I'm shooting for. So that's what I'm going to do. Yeah. So this will go quick, as you can see. Doesn't take much. So I'm going to go ahead and fix that. And I'm going to go ahead and fix this. This probably will take me longer to cut this little piece and sand it, fit it, glue it, let it dry. Then we're going to re-drill that hole after we get it all centered. So we'll come back when it's time to drill that hole there. And I'll show you how to line it up, or how I'm going to line it up. Now, in the end, when the boat's done, I may be totally wrong, but I'm gonna do this because it just doesn't seem right to me. And yeah, we're just gonna fix it, sort of, maybe. Okay. I did trim my rod down a little bit more there on the hook, and I've already marked it right where the hole needs to go. And if you're looking at it there, you can see where I put the plug in. Yeah. So what I've done is I have set this up, put it on the flat surface, make sure we're flat with the keel. I did have to remove some wood right here on our centerboard. We want to check to make sure that we're fairly in the middle of the hole there, the slot. I think we're close enough. And so I did that, and I marked our hole. So that's where I need to drill it. So I'm going to go ahead and drill this out. And we'll put a pin in it and see if it works. So I got the hole drilled. flip this thing over. And now we have a working centerboard. All right. That's where we're at. You can see here, the hole originally was about in the center. Whoops. About in the center there. And that's just so, it was just so far off. Actually, I think it was further out and down. Okay, so I let that set overnight, and then I took the weights off of it, of course. You guys know that. And we plug that. That's ready to go. And we have to put this into place for when we glue the opposite side up, which would be our port side. So one of the things that I did is I put the port side on, and then I went ahead and penciled in the limits of our port side there. And the reason why is because when I glued this aft center section in, I put too much glue on. Now that's not going to be a real big issue. We'll just take and sand that back after I get the whole keel put together. I wish I hadn't have done it. I didn't think about that curve, but there we are. So, of course, with it weighted and facing down, you don't really realize that you've done that until it's too late. So I have to line everything back up. We're just going to put our centerboard in. Of course, I want to make sure that the link there is in such a position that it doesn't get in the way of us putting on the port side, like so. And we're going to use our splines with the trued side down to help us get that alignment. And yeah, I mean, you know, it's kind of where we're at here. Now, I'm going to have to do all three of these pieces here, these center keel sections at the same time. So I'm going to have to put the glue on this piece, and of course the stern section there. And I have to move really quick to do it because the yellow glue that we're using does set up fairly quick. It starts to skin over. So we need to make sure that we've got enough weight and we're ready to go. And we're going to use the same alignment points across the deck area there of this keel structure to make sure everything gets lined up correct, or as close to correct as possible. So I'm going to do this off camera because I will inevitably bump the camera and probably knock it off the stand. So just make sure you've got plenty of light and you can see what you're doing. And I'll just get this glued up. Now, once I glue it up, I'm going to have to let it set for 6 to 8 hours to make sure that it's all dry. And hopefully any little bit of bowing that is left in this will go away. I'm hoping. I mean, it does lift up a little bit off the mat. So once it's reinforced with the port side, hopefully that'll be gone. And I do believe that little bit of movement is due to my first failed glue up attempt there. Things are just not quite like it should have been, but we live and learn. So yeah, I'm gonna go ahead and glue this up. And the next time I get back to you in this video, we will be taking the weights off of this. Okay, so I let this set overnight. Got my big heavy bookends on it there. And I do hope everything came out well. Move these out of the way. And let's see what we got here. All right, I can live with that. Actually looks straight. I guess as straight as I can expect. Not bad. So let's see what I've got to do now. I need to put the pin in for our centerboard here. Use this toothpick here to kind of line it up. And let's see, where are we at? Here we go. So I got my little bitty pin. Obviously going to fight me here. As soon as I turned the camera off, it went. Am I surprised? No. All right, so I got my pin in. I'm just kind of wondering if I should wait till after I glue the reinforcement pieces on. Nah, I'm gonna go ahead and do it. I'm gonna use CA glue to do that. Medium purpose CA glue there. I'm just gonna glue it from the outside of the pin here. This is where somebody's screaming at me, no, don't do it. Too late. All right, that'll hold it. It's probably already held. Yep, it's in. Now my link is, all right. So centerboard works. That's nice. If you don't correct this distance though between the hole that's drilled in the board and getting your link here, center of the groove there, and also relieving some of it here on the starboard side, then it's not going to work. So just let you know that. But ours works. Well, it works for now. All right. Let's not glue this to the mat, and let's see what else we got to do. So let's see. So that takes us through step 3, central spine part B, which is putting the port side on. We got that. Now we got some reinforcing strips. So I'm gonna have to go find this. The forward pair A help locate the mast accurately later on. These glue port and starboard sides. Port side is the left side as you look forward from aft. The middle pair B helps support the half bulkheads. Make sure this lines up with the marks on the spline. The next pair, C, reinforce a weak area. The last pair, D, will provide support for plank ends under the transom. Bulkhead frame. Then it goes on to frames. So, I guess for reference here, here's A, B, C, and D. And that's all it says about those. They do show them gluing them up here. So I gotta go find all these, and I'm gonna cut them out and prep them to install. Okay, so I've cut out all the pieces that we need here, all these little reinforcement pieces that come out of sheet 3. Here they are. We've got 2 A's, 2 B's, 2 C's, and 2 D's. So we got a total of 8 pieces here. Now, I did go and true the edges of them. Same method that I told you before, where we've done this before. Just to recap, I'm using a machinist square here to elevate it up off my mat, and using my sanding block gives me a 90 degree there so that I can square all these pieces. You don't have to sand all the char off, but you do need to sand it down to make sure that it's square. That's just... Now, as far as the hole for the mast, I'm not going to do that. I'm just going to leave that, because I don't know where we're going to be here. So yeah, so that's that. Don't know how that's going to end up. We'll have to see. And you can see here, that's the C piece right there. You know, they've cleaned off the char. That's the C piece. The D piece goes on behind it. So the last pair D will provide support for plank ends under the transom. However, they're not showing the D's installed. I don't know why, but we're going to go ahead and put ours on, I guess. Couldn't hurt, right? So anyway, I'm going to glue all of mine on with the letters going up. It doesn't matter, I don't think, but the only thing that you need to watch is to make sure that you don't overlap and go into the slots for your frames. Other than that, we're just going to glue and clamp them on. Yeah. So of course, I mean, that would be A is going to go there. B will go here. They have those outlines for us there. C will go here. And D. So the areas that we need to be careful with, we can use our alignment splines here to make sure that we're not getting into the slots there for our frames. So, yeah, I suggest you use those. Just don't glue the alignment splines, you know, to any of this. So I'm gonna go ahead and glue these up, and then we'll see what we got to do next. Okay, so I've got all of our reinforcing strips here. As you can see, they are all mounted into place. So we've got the A's up here that are going to support our mast. And then we have the stiffeners here, part B. And I tried my best to get them lined up in the slots, but I didn't want to cover up where this frame is going to go here on the number 5 frame. And the same thing with number 3 frame. So I did my best to stay kind of in between them there. So may have to trim that up a little bit, but that'll be okay. And you do need to get them inside those lines as best as you can. I just used the top part of the line that was on these little side pieces here of our keel to line them up on both sides. Same thing here for C and D. Stay inside the lines, and you want to make sure, find my spacer here, that you keep that space, because we do have a frame that goes in there. So that's all looking pretty good. Now, while this was all drying, putting our spacers in, I went ahead and cut out from the frets all of our frames, as you can see there, and just used my knife and got those little tabs off. However, when I started to test fit these, we kind of ran into a problem. Of course. I mean, you wouldn't expect anything else, would you? And that way, I mean, as you can see here, I've got frame 1 in, and I've got it pushed over so that it's up against the center section there. And we have a ginormous gap. So that's my steel rule. Yeah, huge gap. So I have this setup bar here. I know you guys probably don't have this. Anyway, this is a 1/16 by a 1/2 inch, which allows me to quickly check about how big that gap is. So it is nearly a 1/16 of an inch. If you can see that. Won't quite slide up underneath it, but then again, we haven't cleaned the char off, because normally you're going to need to clean that char off out of there to, number one, make sure it's true, and then number two, wood glue does not stick to char very well. So once we do that, I'm sure we're going to have like at least a 1/16 of an inch or so. And that's too much, because these frames have to be center. And there's no good way to get it center and get it accurate, as you can see there. And is this the fault of the kit? Well, kind of, yes, but you're going to run into things like this in wooden boat building. As you can see, we just have. And these frames need to be center on our keel structure here in order for all the symmetry to come out correct, both port and starboard. So in order to do that, I'm going to have to clean the char out, and then we're going to have to shim it. But when we go to shim it, we're going to have to shim the inside here on both sides. And as I went through all of our frames here, I can get that one in. You can see we've got the same problem going on there with nearly all the frames. So we are going to have to shim all of them, and it appears that they're all cut with the same dimension. Now, frame number 4 is different. It is 2 pieces. We're going to have to tackle that separately. But the same thing here. In fact, it almost looks like frame 5 is just slightly. Yeah, it might be exactly the same. Yeah, so all these frames are like that, except for number 10. Number 10 appears to be about right. I don't know why they're all large like that, but that's going to be a problem for us. See, I would like for the frames to be like number 10 here, which is really tight, and then we can make the adjustment when we go to insert it. So 10 doesn't need to be shimmed, but all the others do. And the only way to do that is with a piece of wood. And we're going to have to shim both sides. Going to have to shim it on the inside on both port and starboard. And then we're going to have to sand it to fit. That's a lot of work. Now, the other option would be to remake all these, but that would be a lot of work too. So I think shimming it is the best way to go. So since it's nearly a 1/16 of an inch off, if you split that in half, of course, because you're going to have a shim on either side, that would be a 32nd of an inch either side. So I have ordered some basswood in 1/32 thickness by 1/4 inch from Model Expo, so that I can shim all this. So I don't have it at the moment, so I'm waiting to get that, and then I will be able to shim these out and get these to fit properly. So the only other thing that I can do, really, I think, is not much. Other than if you look really close here, let me change my aspect, or not the aspect, but I'll zoom in a little bit here. So if we look, I'll get it to focus. I lined it up right, our center section with our starboard and ports. I lined it up there, and I also lined it up here when I glued it together. However, you can see that it does stand a little proud right there in the center section. Is that going to matter? Maybe, maybe not. I don't know. We do have 2 halves of deck that are going to line up on this center section here. So what I am going to do is I'm going to come in and I'm going to sand these down even, and sand them, of course, 90 degrees to the assembly, so that I don't have any issues there. So I'm going to do that and then wait for just wait for our strips to come in so I can shim it, because I don't have anything to shim it with. So I was hoping to get much further along in this video, but that's as far as I've gotten. And if you buy this kit, you are going to have that problem. And you're going to have that problem probably not with just this kit, but practically any other kit. You're going to find that either it's going to be too tight or it's going to be too loose. If it's perfect, count yourself lucky. So the other thing that I want to do before we close out this video is I want to kind of check. Well, that might not be the best tool to use. I want to kind of check. I think the best way to do this, if I line that up with the top notch, I'm going to go with the planking. Those little planking. This is number 3, so with those little planking indexes there. So it looks like I'm 32.5 millimeters right there, or 32.66, something like that. So it's the same on either side, so it appears to be symmetrical. And by that, what I mean is from center, or at least from our slot there, it's the same distance on both sides. So it probably wouldn't be a bad idea to kind of check everything. Roughly 40 and 40 from slot to edge arrow number 5. And I mean, you can just go through and measure them to kind of see. 34 there, 34 there. So it seems like the slot is symmetrical. So our left and right are really close to being a mirror image, which is really what you want. But now number 4 is easy to do because it's 2 pieces. You just line that up and then check it. So yeah, we're in fair shape as far as its symmetry goes. So we got to keep that symmetry, and that means we have to shim both sides on the inside there so we can get a nice tight fit when we go to install these. And then we have to fit these. This is number 6. When we fit these, it needs to be level with the top of our center portion or keel frame. So yeah. Now another thing that I think we're going to do, which is use some basswood strips here. Now this comes from Midwest. They come in I got a variety pack here. Let me zoom out. This is all basswood, and it has various different strips in there. None the size we need, of course. And currently I don't really have a good way to cut that to get it uniform, so I'm not going to be able to cut the shims myself. But that would have been nice if I could have. Could have made me some filler strips either side and then fit the frames. But anyway, I'm just going to wait for the planks to come in. So I ordered some 1/32 by 1/4 inch by, I think they're 24-inch planks to do that shimming. But what I'm getting at right now is that in order to make sure that everything is secure, once I get these lined up and cemented into place or glued into place, I'm going to come back in and put some reinforcements in it. That way they don't move on us. I don't want those joints flexing and breaking loose when we go to fare in the boat. So I already have these, so I'm going to use these. And there's nothing really that goes on underneath the deck except in the cockpit area here where the tiller's going to be. For our rudder. So there's going to be seats around on the inside here. So we don't want to try to put anything inside of there. But other than that, I can't really fit all this until we get the fit right. So there's going to be a deck down inside of here. And we're going to have to make some adjustments to get everything square. So now if you do not have a square that you can rely on, you need to get one if you're going to build wooden boats. And a small, like, I don't know what size this is. I think it's a 2.5 or something. Well, this one is a 3-inch. But a 2.5 would work great. 3-inch, it's okay too. It's fine. I use this one a lot. Just to make sure that everything will go in and you can get it glued in square, because they all have to be equal distance left to right or port to starboard. So yeah, so that's the problem we're having. Yeah, and I really wish they'd have been tighter. You know, sanding it down and getting it to fit is fine, but having to fill the extra space there, it's just one of those things. When it comes to wooden boat building, you're going to run into things like that, and you're going to need to be able to solve those problems. And this kit is teaching us a lot. So far, it's taught us do not use PVA glue on these extremely thin pieces here. Mine was just peeling away because of soaking up the moisture, causing the wood to expand on one side and makes it bow. And we've already experienced that, of course, in our other 2 builds.
we used it to some effect to help us during the build, and then we had to be careful in other aspects of those other two builds, the dory and the pram, to watch out for that. So we really experienced that when we went to glue this together. So do not use PVA glue on these really thin pieces. That's a bad idea, as we experienced. But we recovered from that. That's a good thing. We managed to fix that. Oh, and I did not mention it, but I will show you here. When I put this reinforcement here, B, on our starboard side, I did cut a notch into it. You can see that little notch right there. Find something to point with. Yeah. And the reason why is because the rod passes through it there for our centerboard. And we do have a working centerboard, so that's good. But now if you do not make a relief cut there, then that rod is just not gonna, it's not gonna fit. It's gonna stick, okay? So something to look out for there. All right, so that's gonna wrap up this video. Special thanks to all my subscribers, because of you guys that I keep building these kits, and I hope that you enjoyed this video. And if you're new to the channel, I hope I earned your subscription. And yes, I am learning how to build boats as I go. And if you are new to boat building, you can learn from my mistakes. So, look for the next video. I hope my little planks will come in time so that I can get this fixed and get the next video out next Wednesday. If not, we may have a little break there. I don't know yet. So, you guys stay safe and keep modeling.